Today we're going to do a tear down and reassembly video on the Foxfire system, and I've got a Foxfire short build here that I'm going to use to demonstrate on. So the first thing we'll talk about is how these blasters and the modules come together. So they use a hook and a screw setup. So there's two screws on the bottom of the housing module. There's two screws on the bottom of the core modules that both attach it to the receiver. And so to take the Foxfire apart, to tear it down, the first thing you have to do is to remove these two screws. Now, because of the way I've got this wired and my XT60 connector coming in here, I've got it set up so that you have to take the front off first, because that's what gives you access to the XT60. If you pull the core off, it'll come apart there, but then the XT60 will be still under here, so you're not going to be able, you can get it apart, but you can't put it back together that way. So I'm going to take it apart by taking off first the housing and then remove the core second. So we'll get in here, and the screwdriver, you just come in and access this screw on the top, and that just comes out like so. We'll set this down here, and then we'll flip it over, and we'll do the same thing for the screw that sits right here. Set these screws here by themselves, and now with the screws out, the bottom half of the attachment mechanism is free. So to unlock the hook, then you have to apply force upward, and it pops, and you can kind of see, I'll push it back in and kind of do it again so you can take a look, so you get a little better look here, feel on that. It pops up. It goes up only a couple millimeters, but then once that's up, then the whole thing will slide apart. And you can see the hook right here. You can see the pair of hooks on there that they come in and they lock into those slots. So now once we've got this apart, you just disconnect your XT60 and your motor housing is free. Excuse me. Now you do the same thing on the core to get it detached from the receiver. Again, you come in here with your screwdriver, unscrew that, and the mounting mechanisms for the core and the housing are identical to each other. Well, identical in mechanism. They sit at a different offset. And that screw comes out right there. So the magnet to pull it out, it's not going to pull it out, so it's going to stick in there. And then the same thing, apply force, and this pops up, and then it comes apart, and then the XT60 comes through. You can see that wire channel that connects the two of them in, and you can see the hooks attach in here. Screws come on down in here. It looks the same on the other side, except for the offset's a little bit different. So that's how you tear the blaster down, take it apart. To put it back together, it's the same steps but in reverse order. So the first thing you need to do is put the wire through the wire channel from the core through the receiver, and then kind of see how those hooks, they slide right into those spots right there, and then you put pressure until they pop in here, and that gets you in the position, the slots, and then to get it in, you apply vertical pressure back until you can hear that click, and that click means that your hooks are connected. Then you take the screws, and put them on my nice little magnetic screwdriver here, attach them right back in. They screw right back in, go all the way in until they are tight. Flip it over on the other side. We'll do the same thing to reattach. I missed. And then that goes right in as so. Attaches the core. Same thing with the motor housing. Connect your XT60. This is the way I've been doing the builds. I've been using one XT60. You could, in theory, do two and then have them separate here and here, but it's easiest I found just to do with a single XT60 connector here to connect the two together. And then that slides in, and you want to make sure the XT60 slides into the receiver portion. Otherwise it gets jammed up in this front part here and you want it to go in. Also, if you've got a motor guide on your cage, or dart guide on your cage, you want to make sure that that dart guide slides into that open circle once it's going together. And then once you get it close like that, it's the same as is in the core. You can see the slots that the hook goes into. And you just line those up, pop those in there like this, and then, as before, apply downward pressure until you can hear that click, and then the hooks are engaged. Finally, getting in here and putting the two screws back into to complete the mounting mechanism. Now this mounting, this type of a structure is more robust than it would seem. It actually turns out to be a very sturdy attachment mechanism. The hooks, the slot, it can't slot, it can't move, and those hooks, when you print them out of PLA, they've got a good sturdy thickness, hardness, and there's a full infill on that. So those things are very durable. The blaster holds together extremely well with this system. Put the final screw in here. Get that thing all torqued down. And the blaster is back together. And so you see you've got the thing completed, tore down, put back together, and that kind of gives you a sense of what it takes and what happens and what goes on when you're disassembling and then reassembling. If you want to swap cores, if you want to swap motor housings, if you want to swap receivers, you got to go through that process to tear it down, pull it apart, and then you put it back together. So anyways, this is a tear down and reassembly video for the Foxfire Mod MBS system. Thanks for watching.